Yo, what's up guys? You got pokeaimMD here. And today I kind of want to bring to your attention the fact that Magearna is being suspect tested in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now what does this mean? Nothing if you only play in-game. In fact, I mean, you can't even use that mon on rank anyway, so this doesn't pertain to you in the slightest. But when it comes to us to actually play on Pokemon Showdown and follow Smogon rules, it means that Magearna has a shot at being either banned or, maybe not banned. So of course, if you are new to the channel or you've watched a few of my videos, feel free to subscribe. And we're just going to go into this post that Finchinator posted. Read it. I'll be giving my thoughts as well as we're going on it. And then you guys can leave me your thoughts down below or even just leave them right now. Magearna has been one of the strongest Pokemon in Sword and Shield OU ever since it was released during DLC 1 Isle of Armor. With a versatile move pool, including new moves like Trick, Draining Kiss, Stored Power, superb natural bulk, and a practical typing, Magearna has found many ways to impact the Sword and Shield OU metagame. Perhaps the most profound impact it has on Sword and Shield OU is with the Choice Specs variant, which has very limited counterplay overall. Choice Specs Magearna takes advantage fully of 130 base special attack in order to break through opposing teams. The scope of Magearna's effectiveness does not end with the Choice Specs set either, as it has a versatile array of setup variants that can also function at a high level in the metagame. This all makes it very challenging to consistently check or counter Magearna. So I'm going to go over that real quick. I think it got right to the point in what made Magearna, or what makes Magearna really good, right? And this is crazy because, we don't have Z moves right now, right? Or Dynamax, obviously. We don't have Dynamax, but it's funny because last generation, there were so many busted Pokemon, and I do think Magearna was one of them, and then, of course, Z moves on top of that. But now we don't have that, but then they decided to give Magearna Trick, which meant that choice options are legitimately an option. Last generation Trick Choice Magearna was not used, right? You might see the occasional Choice Scarf, but even that wasn't used because it wasn't able to outspeed Greninja. But I've seen it on Rain before, maybe. Couldn't abuse Trick, though, to cripple Pokemon like Chansey, Blissey, Ferrothorn, Toxapex. It obviously got Draining Kiss and Stored Power, which is why we see Iron Defense Calm Mind sets or Calm Mind Shift Gear sets, which I've seen even with like Weakness Policy and Screens. 1v1 Pokemon like Cinderace, Volcarona, Rotom Heat. Like, I've seen it beat its quote-unquote counters many a time. So, I don't know why I said that. I've seen it beat its counters a lot of times. So, we definitely got a lot, and not to mention the fact that a lot of Pokemon are not in the current game because of the way that, Pokemon Sword and Shield is, that they're allowing them via DLC, and some are just not in the game at all. And I think that does have a huge impact in terms of Magearna in general, and to elaborate on that, we do not have Gliscor, Landorus, or Garchomp. Now, these are not Pokemon that necessarily switch into Magearna. Obviously, Ice Beam and Flare Cannon can nuke all of these, and I'm sure a Choice Magearna would still be able to take advantage of them regardless, and Iron Defense could still do something, but the only hard-hitting grounds we have currently are Excadrill and Hippowdon, and Hippowdon is not that hard-hitting. Because it doesn't typically run an offensive set. And even Excadrill, some of them, if they're not Sand Rush variants, are running like Spadef. That way they could take even Aura Sphere from Specs Magearna. So I do think that a lot of this has to do with the fact that we are limited in what we have. I mean, that's like a duh statement, right? But I just wanted to clarify on that, just because I think Gliscor, Garchomp, and Landorus would have made a difference when it comes to this Pokemon, even being suspect tested. Though I still think Magearna should have been suspect tested last gen, along with Kartana, along with Mega Mawile, along with Greninja, whatever. That's my personal opinion. Anyway, some of the biggest pros of Magearna and Sword and Shield OU come from its natural characteristics. The Steel Fairy typing with 80, 115, 115 bulk is fantastic. This allows for it to get in repeatedly to make progress and even function as a defensive check to a number of Pokemon, which cannot be said for a vast majority of offensive threats in the metagame. Once Magearna gets in safely, it is also able to take advantage of almost unmatched special coverage and various forms of utility, ranging from Volt Switch to generate momentum to Trick, Shift Gear, Calm Mind, Iron Defense, and even Pain Split. This allows for Magearna to account for would-be counterplay with different options that it has at its disposal. So this is also an interesting thing too, because I think this a lot when I see Magearna. You don't know what type of Magearna is on the team. Like, the only type of team that at least says, hey, this is a setup Magearna is, again, if you see like a Grimmsnarl or something that can set up dual screens, maybe like a Ninetales on the team for the Auroraville, right? So, like, as long as you don't see what Magearna's item is, it also makes counterplay a little bit hard in a sense. Like, I can't just pivot into, oh, I think they're Assault Vest, so I'll go Mungus on Volt Switch. Oh, they end up going for Flash Cannon to a killing me, which is whatever I have Regenerator, right? maybe I go chance. I guess I'm talking from a defensive standpoint too. They end up tricking me, or they end up being this combine iron defense. And it's so interesting. Like I said, I mean, I mentioned it before, but Choice Magearna was rarely, if ever, a thing. You might have seen the occasional Choice Scarf on a random rain team, or Specs on a random rain team. And the reason I say Choice Scarf on a rain team is because I've seen a few that last generation that would use Pelipper plus Scarf Magearna as a ways of dealing with Metagame. Because Mega Metagame would usually fake out or Thunder Punch Pelipper. You can go Magearna and then you just get the Flare Cannon kill, right? So, especially because some people also ran Assault Vest as well as set up Magearna on Rain itself. But now Trick Specs is just, it's so freaking good. Choice Specs Magearna is the most common and effective variant. While plenty of breakers in Sword and Shield OU hit hard, such as Urshifu and Rillaboom, Magearna's Choice Specs boosted Flare Cannon may stand out even in this company. Common resists such as Excadrill, Rotom Heat, and Cinderace all take north of 60% and cannot switch in reliably at all. For example, sorry, I said that as if that was like going on more, but that was the end of the sentence. Regenerated Toxapex and Amoonguss are seen as satisfactory pivots initially, but the former risks taking significant damage from Volt Switch and losing momentum, where the latter is 2-hit KO by Flash Cannon, which is, you know, the example I gave earlier. Even seemingly unbreakable special walls like Chansey and Blissey are a Volt Switch or two away from being put into 2-hit KO range of Aura Sphere or Flare Cannon, which is being generous to them considering variants running Trick have the opportunity to limit these Pokemon in the remainder of the game. I do want to pose a question after as well, because I know something that people don't like is the fact that it seems we're always suspect testing offensive Pokemon, and I do agree. And I don't know if you guys, not that I agree with the yes, we are. I say we, but it's not like I have anything to do with it. But Smogon, I say we just because I'm part of it, right? They are suspecting offensive Pokemon. And I do think that Clefable should have still been. This has nothing to do with Clef, but I still think just thinking about it, right? Like Clef was too much and too oppressive and too good on like just a team standpoint. That like we're talking about an offensive fairy here, but I'm just thinking about the defensiveness of fairy last generation. Choice Specs Magearna has a small pool of counterplay and is capable of circumventing some of it as described above. With this said, it is still limited to only 4 moves, oftentimes having to pick between Aura Sphere for steel types and Trip for crippling special walls, or specific walls. With only base 65 speed, it is also very possible to revenge kill thanks to the handful of fast fire and ground types you encounter in Sword and Shield OU, such as Cinderace, Rotom Heat, and Excadrill. It is also a bit prediction reliant due to Volt Switch immune Pokemon being on almost all teams. A distinguishing factor between Magearna and other breakers of tier has to be its bulk and typing. It can take advantage of common walls such as Mandibuzz, Clefable, and Slowbro because of this. However, hyper offensive teams are able to minimize the amount of times any Magearna can switch in safely, leaving it incapable of finding the same breathing room it has in a balanced matchup. Now, I agree when it comes to Choice Specs, but I do still think that setup Magearna is really good versus hyper offense, period. And you can feel free to disagree with me, but I do think setup, as in like even Iron Defense Combine sets, just able to, especially because Draining Kiss giving it reliable recovery. Beyond Choice Specs, Magearna has stored many other tricks up its sleeve. A lot of other noteworthy Magearna variants focus on setup sweeping. It can viably run 3 setup moves: Shift Gear, Combine, and Iron Defense, which gives it effective options to pick from. On more offensive teams, a set with Shift Gear and Electro Ball can be great at sweeping, and in general, Shift Gear with Combine or 3 attacks fits well in hyper offense. With support of screens, Weakness Policy can be employed to make Magearna much more dangerous. A downside of this set is that it lacks the outright breaking power of Choice Specs and the bulk of longevity of bulkier boosting sets, making it a good pick on limited pool of teams. Though the Weakness Policy set can still easily run max defense, max HP if it wants to. Being able to check Cinderace, getting the boost, and then knocking it out afterwards, stored power. On more balanced teams, there are a variety of options for Magearna to pick from as a win con. Stored power variants are occasionally utilized. With Combine and Iron Defense, stored power plus Draining Kiss can get out of hand quickly for unprepared teams, but Haze Toxapex shuts this down. Breaking through Steel types is challenging, and Fire types can dispose of it before it gets out of hand, usually. These variants can also use Grassy Seed if paired with Rillaboom to help boost stored power and improve the immediate defensive prowess of Magearna. On the other hand, Combine variants with Substitute can be used to take advantage of Amoonguss, Toxapex, and Fable, making use of Flare Cannon plus Thunderbolt. So they're talking about sub-Combine variants. These variants are still limited to this coverage and incapable of boosting physical defense, making Rotom Heat, Excadrill, Jirachi, and other fire steel types potentially good checks to it. Again, they're always checks, never counters, because those mons can all be worn down. Finally, Combine plus Pain Split can be used, and there are a number of different coverage options worth considering here, but no one variant of it is perfect, running into various roadblocks no matter how you approach it. Magearna's setup variants are all viable and even strong options, but they have common checks and counters. In addition, Magearna as a whole is far from perfect. It is at its strongest when locked into a specific move with Choice Specs, thus making it prediction reliant and potentially at mercy of outplaying in order to generate consistent progress. And I mean, even that line is a little bit shaky because Choice Specs Flare Cannon, they already mentioned before, its quote-unquote counters or checks are taking upwards of 60% more. So even then, you just start clicking Flash Cannon after that. Has the most devastating potential with the Shift Gear or Star Power sweeping sets, but all have difficulty breaking through balanced teams without support and having the proper moves for the occasion. A lot of the time, Magearna sweeps also fail to manifest due to offensive pressure suffocating it if it requires multiple setup turns in order to sweep. Overall, Magearna is a great option in the metagame, but there is some counterplay to it and there are some limitations to what it can do. It can be argued that Magearna imposes restrictions on team building due to how oppressive the Choice Spec set is and how versatile it is overall. Even if you prepare for it sufficiently, there's a possibility that it will continue to give you issues due to how effective the Choice Specs variant is at forcing progress and wearing out defensive cores. However, many common structures are able to minimize how often it gets in and make it rely on prediction in order to make much progress at all due to durable Flare Cannon, resist, and common vaults with immunities. Magearna also is a good win condition with a wide array of options that leave many teams struggling to consistently handle it. Despite all of this, there are still some checks and counters to every variant of Magearna, including every setup variant multiple times over. Due to this points outlined, the OU Council has deemed Magearna worthy of a suspect test. So, I don't know if Magearna, I mean, I am leaning towards ban necessarily, but that's even if I do suspect. If I do, I'll probably be doing them on stream. But I don't know if Magearna is like broken in itself, and I don't know if it's a combination of the fact that we have Magearna Cinderace, which can be overwhelming with it, and then we have like Urshifu, which always crits, and the limited amount of counterplay we have. I mean, I do know actually it has a lot to do with that. The fact that I not only have to deal with Specs Magearna or setup variants, but also a Pokemon that gets stabbed on every move, and a Pokemon that is hitting ridiculously hard. Kind of sounds like Gen 7 OU. Also kind of sounds like we should have done some suspect tests back then, which is actually why I believe the OU Council is being a little bit more proactive this generation in doing these things, because last generation so many people complained. But let me know your thoughts on Magearna. If I do end up suspect testing or suspect test laddering, because I'm doing road, so I mean I've been pissed off a couple times by Magearna in road to top 10, but I'm also using balance too, and a lot of my balances are a little bit shaky when it comes to that Pokemon, which is my team choice, not necessarily Magearna. But if you actually do want a ladder for it, you can do so by making your name OUTU and then whatever you want after that. And you have to have a minimum GXC of 82 games with a minimum of 40 games played on the Pokemon Showdown ladder. Again, Magearna definitely is extremely scary. Like I said, I've seen, even in tournament play, I've seen set up Magearna beat Volcarona, beat Cinderace, beat Rotom Heat, beat Excadrill, right? Whether it be Iron Defense or Combine, Weakness Posture, or whatever. Even without the help of screens, I've seen it do such things. And I've seen Specs kill literally 5 Pokemon on a team that had like 3 answers to it, type of thing, in a recent tournament. I wish I had the replay right here. I think it was week 1 of World Cup. If someone has the replay and knows which game I'm talking about, please feel free to let us know, or let me know down below in the comments. But I do want to know your thoughts on Magearna. Does it deserve to be banned? I don't know. Does it deserve to be suspect tested? Yes, for sure. It does. And I think after they planned on suspect testing Cinderace too, they did a poll actually on Smogon, and I kind of wish they, I don't know if they tweeted it out, but I kind of wish they tweeted it out if they didn't, and even made other people aware of it. Like I would have probably made a video on the poll and see if people, like, because obviously the tournament community is so much smaller than the Pokemon community as a whole, right? The competitive Pokemon community is bigger than the tournament community, and of course the competitive Pokemon community is way smaller than the casual Pokemon community. But I feel like that poll got like 200 results, and we could have gotten thousands and see what people says. But the overall thing was that I believe 75% of people believe that Magearna should be suspected, and I think around the same believe that Cinderace should be suspected too. So I'm pretty sure they're going to do suspect testing Cinderace after they suspect test Magearna. Who knows what ends up happening to Magearna though after this. Let me know your thoughts. You have until August 4th to ladder. I'll leave this thread down below, and I'll see you out next time. Peace.